So, over here on the top right-hand corner of Antiga Shipyard, we have our green Terran player, hailing from Team Mouse Sports, is the one and only ThorZaIN. And his opponent in the lower left-hand corner from Quantic Gaming, it is the Korean Terran player, our teal Terran player, Apocalypse.
Yes, indeed. So, Apocalypse, you know, he played a very interesting style last game as well, tried to go for that Sky Terran style like we saw, but he didn't really kind of keep it up, you know? I mean, it seems like he wasn't really very decisive in how he wanted to play that game. He kind of bounced around a little bit between different strategies and never really kind of settled on something. And while that's good for confusing your opponent, against someone that's just so safe and solid like ThorZaIN is, it can kind of come back to haunt you, and that's exactly what happened that game. ThorZaIN just wasn't fazed by it, picked something, stuck with it, and in the end just kind of had the stronger army.
Alright, so let's take a look around now. This is Antiga Shipyard. What version are they using? One with gold minerals on it, so may come into play if this ends up becoming a longer TVT.
Yep.
And it looks like ThorZaIN just
freaking out, man.
planning once again to wall up at the front. He's been doing that quite a bit lately. And both players not bypassing and going for command center first, just sitting on a barracks for now.
Yep, I've got a feeling we're not going to see any really aggressive expands out of either of these guys this series. You know, Apocalypse's reputation, you know, you've got to know that ThorZaIN was watching the games the other day against Gumiho, so I don't think he's going to play very greedy against the Quantic Terran that we have on the left side of the map. So I think we're probably going to see fairly normal openings for both these guys. Yeah. Spike.
That's either the name of his dog or there was a small lag spike. So.
Talking about his dog, Spike. I don't know if ThorZaIN has a dog. I'll have to ask him sometime.
I hope he does. I don't know. I have this weird vision of like ThorZaIN after a long day of gaming just sits down, Spike jumps up, tail wagging, and ThorZaIN's like, "Oh, you." He seems like he'd be that kind of person.
I could see it.
And immediately Tech Lab going down for Apocalypse. We'll see if he wants to expand behind Reapers or something like that. ThorZaIN, on the other hand, is going for a 1-Rex gasless fast expand.
Yeah. So, a little bit economically aggressive, but not in a, you know, completely unsafe way. Putting that command center down on the low ground as well. And it looks like it will be a Reaper, of course, from Apocalypse. So the question is, will this just be a Reaper expand, or will there be some sort of crazy build coming out of our teal Terran player? He's still getting gas, but, you know, that doesn't necessarily mean a whole lot. You can easily afford that command center before you put down the factory if you want to.
And taking a look around now, I want to see what ThorZaIN's follow-up to this is going to be. If he decides to head down that bio path with more barracks, or if he wants to stick on just 2 gas right away. And on his opponent's side, quite a bit of gas still being saved up. We'll see if it goes to another Reaper, or if he's going to expend that on factory here in a second. It's actually a Marine.
I think it's going to be a Marine and then probably a factory, yeah, because he did put down that expansion on the low ground. So both of these guys playing for the early expands, hearing what I said, of course, and then doing the opposite.
Second barracks coming up for ThorZaIN now, as this is a build that is really cool and something that he had been using a few months ago. Already in position, though, for that Reaper. And, so close to killing it.
You know, I feel like ThorZaIN may have actually over-microed that a little bit there. If you just would have let the Marine sit there, he probably would have killed it. But as it is, he did plenty of damage.
And now he's going to lose it.
Look out.
Bye-bye. All right. So, yeah, ThorZaIN, though, was actually doing this build that he's doing right now against almost all races. Wow. Kills it as it's in the midair. But ThorZaIN was going for 1-Rex gasless FE into a second barracks and double gas. And what it allows him to do is it's one of the most flexible builds that I've ever seen, because he can go into bio and right into ghosts and try and hit a quick timing if he's playing Protoss or something like that. He can move into high tech very quickly as well, prioritize medevacs, or he has the flexibility to just knock out a ton of upgrades.
Yep, and I think that's probably the direction we're going to see him go here with that, is just a lot of barracks, a lot of bio, and some upgrades. He's going to do a little bit of a poke here just to kind of see what his opponent is up to. Looks like Apocalypse going for nearly the same thing, although he is getting a slightly faster engineering base, so he's going to have that +1 just a little bit quicker here. And it looks like a fast third command center from ThorZaIN too, so yeah, ever the macro Terran.
Yeah, so he is really wanting to play towards the late game. Of course, he's very comfortable in the late game, so it makes sense. ThorZaIN running in with 5 Marines, very brazen there, but he's got 5 uninjured Marines he'll have to deal with, and he'll have to back out for now.
Yep.
Stim's almost done for Apocalypse. ThorZaIN just going after Combat Shield for now.
Well, the really nice thing for ThorZaIN there is that he saw that there weren't any Hellions or anything like that, so he can be reasonably sure that his opponent is going for bio as well. And so then it just becomes a matter of macro and upgrades and protecting yourself against things like drops. So ThorZaIN kind of has a direction now that he can go in this game, you know? And Apocalypse, I don't know how much he's really seen of his opponent's base. Not a whole lot as of yet. In fact, not a whole lot of anything as of yet.
Yeah, that Reaper was not able to get in there at all. It saw where ThorZaIN was at, of course. Looks like they were using a version where they knew it was going to be forced cross spawns, but let's see here now as a few more Marines are rolling out for ThorZaIN. He does have a slight advantage in Marines. He's producing them 5 at a time, and Combat Shield is now done. But of course, Apocalypse has that all-important Stim upgrade.
Yep. And as we saw yesterday, Stim does beat Combat Shield to +1. So if it's an equal number of Marines, basically with an equal number of medevacs. Here comes Apocalypse, though.
I'm sure ThorZaIN's like, wait a second, where did you all come from?
Yeah.
So, all right, so well, he's going to have to back away for a second. He's leading him back into the major group of Marines. ThorZaIN going to have to delay here on the high ground, but a Stim already popping out for Apocalypse. He wants to try and push in and do some damage right now. It's going to be a while before ThorZaIN is able to catch up.
Yeah, he could potentially do a decent amount of damage to ThorZaIN here. He's going to go for the tech lab that's researching Stim. That's going to be annoying for ThorZaIN to restart. He is going to clean this up, but yeah, that'll really delay things. So nice little poke by Apocalypse.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it is very annoying, and Stim going back there is a big setback, but Apocalypse doesn't catch the expansion off to the left. And he just lost a lot of Marines as well, so not a total loss for ThorZaIN.
Yeah, ThorZaIN, I mean, he's going to still have to kind of sit in his base. He can't really push too far out across the map. He can kind of take the Xel'Naga Tower, but he knows that with Stim out there, he's not going to be able to come in and defeat anything that Apocalypse has back at his base, unfortunately. So he's just going to, and he's fine with that. You know, like we mentioned, he's got that third base, so he wants to concentrate on macro and defense right now rather than any sort of early pushes. So ThorZaIN is kind of right where he wants to be at this point, and Apocalypse still doesn't have a whole lot of information about his opponent. You know, he knows it's going to be probably something very bio-oriented, but all in all, he hasn't really seen a ton.
Yeah, and this base, the fact that he doesn't know about this, and this has already returned a significant profit now for ThorZaIN, such a boon to his game and his economy. But taking a look around now, we have our first couple of medevacs coming out now for Apocalypse. He is producing his Marines 6 at a time. He has invested into his infrastructure quite well. No add-ons on all of the barracks, but it's nice because there's a lot of Terran players who will just over-invest in add-ons. When those go down, they don't have the sheer quantity of barracks to try and get themselves back into it.
Yeah, very true. So we've got both players kind of more or less going for a very similar build here. It looks like Apocalypse is going to try to do a drop in ThorZaIN's main. And what does ThorZaIN have to defend this here? Well, he's got a patrolling SCV, it looks like, at the third base in the bottom left part of the map, patrolling Marine, rather.
Yes.
And does he have any missile turrets in his main yet?
I don't think so,
Not quite yet. He's got Marines, though, so he should be safe.
He does have +2 weapons, +1 armor coming up. Now, Apocalypse is just finishing up +1 armor, so his upgrades are going to be superior for the time being, but let's see. ThorZaIN's going to be able to pull ahead in just a bit. And, picks up on the drop. One medevac already moving away, so ThorZaIN's going to know to watch out for these drops here already. Well, of course, he has those original Marines in position. The rest of them actually not really moving. He's content with the amount of defense that he has already.
Well, look at ThorZaIN. He's got such good map awareness right now. He's got the middle of the map covered. He's got that bottom right part. Yeah, so he sees the push coming across the middle of the map. He also can be reasonably sure that those medevacs have units in them as well. And so, will he be prepared? Does he have enough stuff to defend this? He has 1 tank, and it looks like he should have enough Marines. Yeah, he even sent some over to his third base, watch for any other sort of drops. So,
yes,
ThorZaIN just very well prepared all in all. It looks like Apocalypse wants to break through those back rocks.
And Apocalypse has added in a, yes, he is. In fact, he's going to take those down right now. He's added in 1 Marauder, so we'll see if he adds in more here in just a second. Apocalypse just going to go for it. ThorZaIN coming up from around the side. He does not have siege mode done, and the battery engage does go to Apocalypse for the time being. ThorZaIN losing quite a bit of stuff here.
Yeah, I'm actually really surprised that he let Apocalypse just come up like that. I mean, it's such a common strategy for players to break through those rocks and attack the third and try to get that high ground for engagements, and ThorZaIN just let him walk right into it. He loses his third, loses his command center. He's going to lose all the SCVs as well.
Yeah.
Really, really unfortunate situation for our mouz.ThorZaIN player right now.
Yeah, no counter drops or anything going to equalize at the moment. Apocalypse, that is a huge win for him. Fortunately, it looks like there was another orbital command already finished for ThorZaIN. He's going to port that over there in just a second, but he's trying to make his way up right now. Pretty good split out of Apocalypse initially, so he's still going to do some damage here, despite he had the much smaller army. ThorZaIN does find a way to sit there for the time being. No, actually, that was just a command center, so he does have to rebuild that from scratch.
Yeah, that's right. ThorZaIN kind of holding Apocalypse off, but taking a lot of damage in return. You mentioned ThorZaIN not really doing any drops either, and that's kind of one of his hallmarks. He doesn't do a lot of drop play. I was watching a little bit of the Red Bull LAN earlier last week, and one of the things that ThorZaIN was working on there was trying to incorporate more drop play into his games too. So he knows it's an area where he could kind of stand some improvement on, and you know, in this case, I think this is one of the situations where some drops could be a good thing to try to do a little bit of damage to his opponent, get back into the game, kind of even things up a bit. But as you can see, you know, he's just not doing it.
Yeah, get back into the game indeed. He's down by 9 workers. He's down a base. He's being outproduced at the moment. His economy is worse. I mean, you know, you thought he would have been in a great position because he shut down the drops and he had such a wonderful economy going from his early 3rd base, but yeah, Apocalypse just completely neutralized that.
Well, it was a fairly small error. You know, you just can't let opponents break through the rocks and get up into your 3rd like that. You know, you just can't let your opponent get that position. And it's such a small thing to forget, but it has such big implications here. So Apocalypse, you know, got a decent lead right there out of that, and he should just be able to kind of muscle ThorZaIN around the map right now. We'll see, though. The tank spread pretty good for ThorZaIN.
Yeah, it is. He's already got a couple of tanks firing. The sheer quantity of Marines for Apocalypse is staggering, though, and he decimates the entire army in the middle of the map. ThorZaIN bringing all of his forces back to try and make one more big stand, but now Apocalypse has the high ground. He's got a safe spot for his 4th base. This is looking really good for him.
Yeah, just not enough tanks for ThorZaIN, not enough units as well to buffer in front of those, and it looks like Apocalypse is going to continue to kind of push his way around the map. You can see ThorZaIN does have that ramp covered now with that siege tank, but will it even matter?
Oh, we'll find out. We'll see if Apocalypse just wants to break this here in a bit. ThorZaIN running out with a few of his own forces, trying to bait some Marines back in the siege tank line. Apocalypse says, yeah, thank you very much. I'll just go kill all your tanks.
I guess so. And things are looking pretty dire right now for ThorZaIN. It looks more and more like Quantic.Apocalypse has got a pretty good chance here of evening things up in game 2.
All right, well, let's see here as Apocalypse is rolling up now, starting to break his way into the 3rd once again, sitting just outside of that tank line as well. So smart, ThorZaIN forced to lift, and we'll see if that may cause him to tap out, actually.
Yeah, well, denying the 3rd base is an essential part of winning in TVT on this matchup, really winning in any matchup on Antiga Shipyard. If you can deny the 3rd, keep him to 2 bases, it's fairly easy to contain after that point.
Yeah.
And then your opponent will just eventually starve themselves out of resources. That's exactly what we're seeing happening right now to ThorZaIN. Just not able to produce quite as much. Down by about 70 supply here.
Yeah, let's see. Yes, there's still a couple of tanks sitting on the high ground as well. ThorZaIN trying to get a little bit closer with those. Apocalypse has vision of the tanks up at the front, so he's going to be able to deny that for a little period of time. And he's almost maxed. 190 supply to 122 right now.
Yep, pretty much. And he's got the medevacs there to gain vision as well. ThorZaIN, though, making that Viking to let his tanks maybe edge just a little bit further. Scan for Apocalypse going down, though he wants to know if ThorZaIN is moving those tanks up.
Oh, and he's just going to go for it. He's pushing all of his Marines through a tiny little choke point, though. Finally turns around and is just going to drop into the main. Very good decision there. He's going to get around those siege tanks, and wow, is he going to do some damage.
Yeah, I would say so. The entire Marine army in the base now. ThorZaIN's going to take the advantage to take those tanks out, but GG.